You mentioned how that region, that part of the Basque Country, has produced so many players. It's also produced an incredible number of coaches in your generation. What can you put that down to? The fact there's so many.
The food. We have the best food in the world. I'm sorry. We have the best restaurant by a square meter and the most beautiful city, and it has to be linked to that. What we eat and the way we live, the quality of life in our cities is incredible. But I think it's related to our roots. Is the education, as I said, is the passion about the game. You breathe it within the city. You breathe it everywhere you go. We played on the beach. You go now on a Saturday and Sunday, is 300 kids playing on the beach. And you sense that in the city, and that has to come. Somehow, and now it's not about now, because in the past as well they always produce coaches, always produce coaches and good players. So good, somebody's doing the right thing.
It's one of the smallest sort of provinces in Spain, I think.
Yeah.
It's quite extraordinary. It's a bit like when Glasgow had about 10 different Premier League managers at once.
Yeah.
Now across Europe there's so many.
Yeah. I don't know. It's that is always about the quality, and when I say the food, I'm not joking, but is the way they look after the city as well, the education, the people, and it's about finding that quality, and I'm really, really proud that I see a lot of people, and it's not only in sport, it's in other industries as well, that we've managed to get out and promote our city in the right way.
Mark?
Is there sort of particular work ethic from that sort of area? We talk people about Spanish and it's all mañana,
Yeah.
but these guys from the Basque area seem to be
in the Basque area is never good enough. So I've been raised like that. But you should have scored another one, or you should have done that, and you should have done that. Is the standards, I would say that, and we talk about qualities, is raising constantly the standards and having someone next to you that is constantly pushing you. A lot of support, family. Is crucial. Families are really, really close. But I would say always demanding more and living with it since you are young. Yeah.
Do you consider yourself Basque or Spanish? Because I know it's.
I am Basque and Spanish. I consider myself both. Yeah.
Just briefly, can I ask you, the game last time you played Bournemouth, that 3-2 game, which was basically crazy. I think they scored after 9 seconds. You scored after 97 minutes. Was that sort of the maddest game you've been involved in?
One of those, especially considering so early, it was a big shock in the system, and then how we turned things around and what we lived together in the 97th. A really special day. I think we will remember that one for a while. That's for sure.
Rather bit calmer tomorrow.
always find a way to win it, but if we can have a game very much more similar to the one that we played there last year. Yeah.
Matt?
Bukayo Saka, if he does or he doesn't, he's 86 consecutive Premier League games he's played in now. How does a player who gets kicked as often as he does survive that? Is he, metal bones or something? And why is it, as a manager, you don't rest him more? And what is it about him that makes him part of the team every week?
I think I talked about it over a year ago. It's his mentality. You want to be the player that he wants to be. You need to have that mindset that you want to play every single minute. You pray yourself to play every single minute at your best. Don't just be there, but make the contribution to the team to win games. And that's changing him. The way he prepares himself, the way he's always talking to people, the way the demands that he sets on him, the support he's got around him. He's got a lot of ingredients. Who knows how long that run can go. We have to protect him, that's for sure, and we have to make sure that we understand when is the right moment to give him that. But there is something within as well that is growing, and that's a really important part of his game.
In terms of medically, for him not to have had a knock that's kept him out of the game, does he find a way of avoiding trouble on the pitch, or is it something about the way he plays that saves him from some of these?
I think with experience, he's recognizing those situations much better and he's exposing his body much less in previous seconds before the action actually happens, and that's something that is doing, that we're working on, and it will protect his physique, that's for sure.
How do you work on that? Sorry, are you coming in pretending to...
Just understanding that it's not a coincidence, and sometimes as well your teammates play you. I call them hospital balls. So they give you a ball that can take you directly to hospital, because So don't play those balls in unnecessary moments. And sometimes is the problem of the player who gives the ball, but sometimes it's the previous movement and your lack of activity in the previous seconds that expose you in that position.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
Hi, Mikel. Vincent Kompany recently spoke of an idea of couple appearances within a season to protect players from overload injuries. And obviously, with you guys now, you've got a few players who are out of action. Do you agree with such an idea, or do you have your own rationale as to how we can limit injuries in football?
It is an idea, that's for sure. You know, how we develop those ideas together to find a common agreement, that's a different story. But I think something has to be discussed seriously about where we take in the game, you know, the exposure of the players and how we're going to allow it. Because as well, if we're not going to change that, then we're going to have bigger squad. If you're going to have bigger squad, we need bigger resources. And you have to allow teams and a squad and provide the financial resources as well to have a squad of 30 players. Because at the end, is a way of limiting a player to play 50 or 60 games. Having a squad of 20 or having a squad of 30 is a different sport. We already made some changes with the 5 subs. Now if somebody tells you, no, tomorrow is only 3 subs, we would all be shocked. You know, we are not used to it. So there is something that has to be changed, because at that level it's impossible to maintain. We're going to go now in January, we're going to lose 3 or 4 players as well with a different competition, you know. So let's see where we go.
If it's not changed, what's the consequences for players? Because like now we're already seeing injuries across the league. So if that's not changed the next season or so, what could happen worse?
I think it's for players and in football in general, because we would have 2 things. One, then the quality drops because those players are not going to be available because they will be injured. Or 2, we have to change the resources that every team has to have more players with the same quality. Because once we are used to the quality that we provide, especially in this league, we're not going to accept anything different. We always want better, not worse, and we're going to have to evolve.
And with Bukayo, if he for some reason doesn't play this weekend, could Reiss Nelson obviously come in contention? He played well on Wednesday, and obviously there's that touch of the 97th minute winner against Bournemouth last season as well, though.
Yeah, for sure, that's a possibility. Yeah.
And finally, we'll go to Gary.
Do you have any sort of thoughts why away from home you complete clean sheets, but at home it's a struggle?
A lot of thoughts, believe me, and it comes down to many factors. It's not just one. I think especially at home we have a lot of individual errors leading to goals, and that has caused some problems, especially away from home. We haven't had that. It's true that away from home, I think the approach sometimes is very different from opponents, and. But it's something that we have to turn around quickly, because if we want the consistency in results, especially at home, is something that we need to change, that's for sure.
They're too charged up at home, too emotional at home.
At times we are, yes. We want to attack too fast. Yeah.
You famously had the Liverpool music many years ago on the pitch. I mean, is there anything you can do to change, to almost have the environment away for home in their heads?
I think it's in football in general. We're not going to change our approach in terms of how we want to win the ball back, you know, and we are a very, very aggressive team, and we want to change that. It's about having the ability to change gears. You know, we cannot play with those gears all the time when we have the ball and when we don't have it. We have to play at different paces, and the game requires different paces in relation to the behavior of the opponent. You know, are they waiting for you? Are they jumping? Are they being aggressive? They're not, where the spaces are, and we have to manage that a bit better, I think.
Mental, not physical. It's a mental thing.
It's mental, it's about reading the situation, it's about finding the composure and being uncomfortable or comfortable with this more chaotic game. But sometimes we provoke as well in our way of playing.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck, Simon.
Thank you.
Yes.